Welcome to Who's Who in the New England Fisheries, your 4-minute guide to the players. Let's get right to it and begin with the fish. Without them, everyone else can just go home. One thing you have to remember about fish, they don't care about political boundaries. They move around. They come inshore, they go offshore, they migrate north to south and back again. Fish more than 3 miles offshore are in federal waters. Federal waters extend out 200 miles. Fish within 3 miles of the coast are in state waters. Most ground fish, a category you hear about a lot, which includes cod and haddock and yellowtail flounder, are fished commercially in federal waters in places far offshore like Georges Bank. Regulation governing their catch is set by the federal government. Species we often think of as recreational fish, like striped bass, bluefish, and sea bass, are mostly caught in state waters, and so the rules for catching them are set by the state. Some fish, like bluefin tuna and many sharks, are considered highly migratory species. Special rules apply to them. No matter where they are, they can be caught only with a federal permit. Moving on. For the fish to become human food, enter the fishermen. Most commercial fishermen who target ground fish, remember them, fish in voluntary cooperatives called sectors. Each sector is allocated by the federal government a portion of the allowable annual catch. Fishermen can buy and sell shares of that portion. That's essentially fish that are not yet caught, and those shares are called quota. Not all commercial fishermen are heading offshore in big boats. There are many commercial fishermen who fish from small boats in state water. They might change the species they're fishing on depending on what's in season, moving, say, from squid and sea bass to bluefish to striped bass, and maybe doing some lobstering too. Commercial fishermen are the only ones allowed to provide the seafood that goes to retail fish stores and restaurants where the non-fishing public can buy and enjoy eating it. Recreational fishermen include anyone fishing for his or her own pleasure. In Massachusetts, all saltwater recreational fishermen over 16 must have a state fishing permit. It costs $10 unless you're over 60, in which case it's free. You can buy a permit online at the mass.gov website. Moving on, high acronym alert. Fishing is regulated by various government bodies depending on where the fishing is done. Let's start way offshore in federal waters. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also called NOAA, is a federal scientific agency that does weather forecasting, but a lot of other stuff too. Includes a division called the National Marine Fisheries Service, also known as NIMFS. Its job is to study, manage, and protect marine resources like the fish. Within the Fisheries Service is the Northeast Fisheries Science Center, located in Woods Hole, where data collection, stock assessment, and other science for our region is conducted. This science information is given to the New England Fishery Management Council, an important body which is independent of NOAA. It uses the science to recommend fishing regulations, like how many pounds of Georges Bank cod can be caught this year. The recommendations go to the Northeast Regional Office, often called NERO, which is a part of NOAA and is located in Gloucester. NERO officially sets fishing regulations according to federal law, which mandates, among other things, that the fisheries must be sustainable. But what about rules for those fish nearby in state waters? Well, wouldn't you know it, they belong to another government body. It's called the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission. Too bad for them. They don't have a cutesy acronym. The commission is made up of the 15 Atlantic states. They set yearly catch limits for most of the fish that migrate along the coast. Remember the striped bass and bluefish? They also set limits for species like eels and lobsters. 24 species in all. Each of the 15 states gets a portion of the yearly catch for an individual species. Massachusetts manages its portions through its Division of Marine Fisheries, often dividing them between recreational and commercial fishermen. Outside of the fish, the fishermen, and the government, who else is a player? Well, there are plenty of advocacy groups. Many environmental advocacy groups are nonprofit and may be pushing for regulations that favor fish and the environment. And almost every group with a financial stake in the fisheries, from charter boat captains to commercial fishermen, have groups and associations to lobby lawmakers on their behalf. And don't forget the non-fishing public. The fish are considered a public resource, and all of this elaborate system is in place to provide access to that public resource, which means food for all of us to enjoy.